everybody, it's SwankiVY, and I just want to say thank you so much to everybody for subscribing to me and pushing me over that 5,000 subscribers mark. And you guys sent in all kinds of really great questions for me to answer for my celebration videos, so I'm going to get right into answering them now. I did not answer every question. Some of them I just couldn't think of a good, interesting answer to, and some of them I might not have felt comfortable discussing on YouTube, but I did answer most of them. And for those of you who may only be interested in seeing the answers to certain questions, I have a list of them in the description box with the time codes for each. Of course, I recommend watching it straight through, but if you don't want to do that, that option is there. I didn't bother to group them into categories or themes because I wanted there to be a variety, but you know, you can just watch it and learn some stuff about me that you may not have known. And why don't we get started? Question 1. Who is my favorite Ace Arrow character? Well, there's not that many to pick from that use our terminology explicitly in media, but I'm going to go ahead and say Poppy from Huge.
I basically identify as asexual.
Wait, what?
It's just how I am. Mail fairy, give me your letters and I shall mail them.
Poppy's great. She's such a huge dork. And even though she's just a minor character in the show, I think it's cool how she has her own little arcs, like when she gets caught between loyalty to her campers and honesty to her employer. I like how she's supposed to be the grown-up, but she's really just a goofball. Just like me. Question 2, what is my favorite Ace symbol? I actually kind of like the playing cards. Question 3, would I ever adopt children? I don't currently intend to and don't want to, but if something happened to my sister and her husband, Bob forbid, I would step up and adopt my nephew. Question 4, how can I be a good ally to an asexual person? Can I use my bisexuality and the erasure I've experienced to relate but not claim that it's the same, or would that offend? Really good question. Other people might disagree with me and might answer differently, but I say bisexual people are welcome to compare their experiences with ours and you know, what they see asexual people going through both inside and outside of queer communities. I mean, I've used that comparison myself, since I know bisexual people go through some of the same "you're not queer enough" erasure that asexual people do, and sometimes we're lectured about straight passing privilege, or talked to like either we're going through a phase or we're just not as queer as everybody else. I have a video on being an ally, and I also have a video about the intersection of LGBTQ organizations and asexuality, where I did a lecture on the topic at the University of Minnesota. Now those videos will go into a lot of detail if that's what you want, but just in general, I would say allies, especially queer allies, can help us immensely by doing stuff like taking care to never compare being really alive or being really human to being sexually active or being sexually attracted to others, or portraying that as a universal human experience. You can take care to never assume that everyone wants a partner if they're single. You can call out these misconceptions when you see them in your spaces. You can call out misrepresentations of asexuality even when we're not there to see them. This would include any mocking you come across regarding virginity or lack of sexual relationships. Also calling out any comparisons you see between being a failure at life or being a pathetic person with lack of sexual success or lack of romantic partnerships. And of course, any backwards ideas you see about asexuality being a phase or a fake. Good allies can have a couple of resources ready to link people to when they come across the need for them, and don't be afraid to refer them to an ace activist if you get out of your depth. Question 5, do I watch anime and what shows do I like? Yeah! I went to an anime club for years when I still lived in my college town, and I've even done anime cosplay at conventions. I still love anime, but I mostly have familiarity with the older stuff. I like a ton of stuff, but some of my favorite movies and OAVs are Kiki's Delivery Service, Dragon Half, Read or Die, and the Project A-ko movies. And the series animes on my notable favorites list include Kodomo no Mocha, DG Karat, Maho Tsukai Tai, Excel Saga, Digimon, Tenchi Muyo, Ranma 1/2, Azumanga Daioh, Fushigi Yugi, Gaku and Alice, Haibane Renmei, Kaleido Star, Revolutionary Girl Utena, Cheeky Angel, El Hazard, and I am a massive, disgusting iShield 21 fangirl. Yahoo! Question 6. Who's my favorite Animorphs character? Oh, dude, it is all about Jake. He's the best leader, partly because he never wanted to lead in the first place. Question 7. Do I ever like getting compliments on my appearance? Yeah, it's alright. My appearance is partially chosen by me, and I don't mind people telling me that they approve of that or commenting positively on the choices I've made regarding my appearance. But I'm just not okay with, predatory style comments or compliments that are only offered to lead to propositioning me for sexual attention. Question 8, am I into astrology? I am not, but the mythology behind personality analysis related stuff is always kind of neat to me. I am a Capricorn, and I probably have about as many personality traits of Capricorns as I do all the other signs, to be honest. Question 9, my favorite character from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Gonna have to go with Toph Beifong, you guys. She's just too awesome, and she's tiny and frequently underestimated like me. Question 10, do I use AVEN, and do I think it should be more accepting to sex-negative asexuals? Gosh, well, I don't actually use AVEN that much. I have an account, but I rarely use it for anything except like private messages with people who contacted me first. As for sex-negative asexual people, it depends on what you mean by sex-negative. I think it's great for people to have a place to vent a little bit about not being into this thing that everybody else thinks is so great, but I'm not so much into the idea of creating like a safe space for people to call other people's practices and interests disgusting. So if you're horrified by other people having sex and you want a place where you can talk about how you're cleaner or purer or better than people who have sex, I'm not into that. But if you don't want to be pushed towards sex positivity narratives that end up sounding like sex compulsory narratives, or you just want to get away from explicit sexual talk, that's perfectly valid. We do need to protect people from this gross idea that individual asexual people need to be enthusiastic about or open to having sex themselves. I hope that answers your question. Question 11. What is my opinion of Barbie? It's such a popular doll with so many varieties, so I'd like to see various realistic body types for them too, and different colors of Barbies that aren't just labeled and marketed like variants of the real white blonde Barbie. It's okay for fashion dolls to exist if that's what someone's into, but I know the Barbie company does at least give lip service to putting Barbie in a bunch of different, not necessarily traditionally feminine career choices, but then they do it in really weird ways, like I did hear about Barbie book where she was a computer engineer, but she only did the design ideas and laughingly referred to how the boys actually make the real game and ended up making all kinds of silly mistakes that the boys had to save her from. So I think they've got a ways to go with their message, but in general I have mixed feelings about Barbie, I guess. Question 12, what do I think about being gay, LGBTQ, and sexual orientation? I think some people are gay and have other non-heteronormative orientations and genders. I support everybody pursuing happiness and living their true identity, if that's what you mean. 13, what is my favorite book? Oh, that's not fair. I have tons of favorite books, but let's just list a few. I love the Animorphs series by K.A. Applegate, the Bayern series and the Princess Academy series by Shannon Hale, as well as her fantastic adult book, The Actor and the Housewife. Eleanor in Park and Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, the Series of Unfortunate Events series by Lemony Snicket, the Hitchhiker series by Douglas Adams, the Cat series by Joan D. Vinge, the Artemis Fowl series by Owen Colfer, the Xenogenesis series and the Patternist series and the Earthseas series by Octavia Butler, the Ashbury Brookfield books by Jacqueline Moriarty, the Young Wizard series by Diane Duane, the Wicked series by Gregory Maguire, his Dark Material series by Philip Pullman, and some of Francesca Leah Block's stuff. Question 14, what's my favorite cake? Probably either yellow buttercup cake with caramel icing or 7-Up cake. Question 15, do I like to read classic literature? I'm not sure what qualifies something as a classic, but sure, I read literary fiction sometimes. Some of the stuff I've enjoyed that I've seen assigned as school reading before includes Watership Down by Richard Adams, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, Roots by Alex Haley, Catch-22 by Joseph Heller, A Separate Peace by John Knowles, Ethan Frome by Edith Wharton, and good old Shakespeare. 16. What class of asexual am I, and what do I think of the shades of ace? I'm aromantic asexual, and I don't think we necessarily need to define ourselves based on romantic orientation or friendliness towards sex or whatever, unless those labels help us have the conversation we want to have or give us some kind of comfort, with our identity. People shouldn't feel pressured to figure out which one is them, but if they find one and it helps, more power to them. 17, my favorite color. I like pink and black. 18, first coming out reactions. I think the first person that I said something of this nature to was a boy that was trying to date me in 10th grade, and his response, of course, was to completely ignore what I was saying and continue pursuing me for the next several friggin' years. I don't even remember any specific coming out to my family or anything. It's just that's the way I had always been, and eventually it had a name and it was never really an issue. I was lucky. 19, favorite compliment. Every time I've received a comment about an emotional reaction to something I wrote, it's basically the best thing ever. I do appreciate it when I get those on my nonfiction writing, but when it's in response to something fictional that I wrote, it's particularly special to me. 20. What do I think of gay conversion therapy, and is there an ACE equivalent? Well, gay conversion therapy is A, unnecessary, B, cruel, and C, ineffective. Same is true for asexual conversion therapy, which you'd think wouldn't be an institutional thing, but we do have diagnostic manuals that explicitly say that people like us should be medicated, and I have friends and acquaintances who have been medically and psychologically abused by professionals that they should be able to trust through being recommended to have testosterone shots or unwanted sex prescribed to them. Plus, you could argue that many of us live in situations where people that we love and trust are trying amateur methods of curing us. 21. Have I traveled to other countries? Yes, I've been to Japan and to Canada. 22. Suggestions for safe and legit dating sites. I have never searched for a date in my life, so I'm probably the wrong person to talk to about this, but I have had wonderful luck finding very good friendships on OkCupid. It's not a scam, and you can legitimately find real relationships there, but if you're male, you'll deal with a lot of silence even if you do things right, and if you're not male, you will probably get lots of really inappropriate messages. There are filters to help you avoid seeing these, though, and they allow a pretty nice range of sexuality and gender options. Though they don't work perfectly, you're still categorized as a man or a woman for search purposes. The questions you can answer are handy, too. You can compare your answers with your match's answers and find out if you have the same values. 23. Have I seen the anime Death Note? I have not. I am a big wimp and I prefer to avoid horror, and that dude looks scary. 24. How easy is it to get a book published? Not easy at all. Basically, a lot of that depends on what you're writing, but if you want someone to handle the business end of the deal and also have access to some of the larger opportunities and bigger publishers out there, you're going to want to get a literary agent first. Literary agents can be difficult to get because they only sign people that they are almost sure that they can sell the book because they work for free until or unless they do that. So you have to get somebody who really believes in your project, and that can be demoralizing and difficult, and you have to have a lot of patience to go through all of the waiting and the rejections on that. When you actually do get an agent to sign you, then that whole process starts with them sending your book pitch or your query to the editors at publishing houses, and you get to go through that whole thing again. If you're very fortunate, you will get at least one offer, and it won't be a sucky offer, and your agent will negotiate that contract, and then you get turned over to the editor, who will hopefully not rip you too much of a new butthole. I make some how-to publishing videos on my other channel if you want to check those out. Stop making noise. I just can't get away from noise for like 5 seconds. 25, would I ever fly to England to educate acephobes? Well, I know that that was pitched as a joke, but just so anyone knows, if you do want me to come and do education in your area, you have to have a specific event for me to come to, like an assembly or a conference or an organized event of some kind. And then you have to cover and set up my travel and my lodging, and depending on the nature of the thing, I usually get a speaker's fee too, but it's variable. Flying me to another country would be expensive, and I recommend you just use one of my educational videos or something. 26, do I watch Doctor Who, and who's my favorite doctor? No, I don't. As mentioned, I'm kind of a wimp, and the very few episodes of that show that I've seen with my friends gave me nightmares, so no thanks. I did see some episodes of Classic Who when I was a kid though, and they say you never forget your first doctor, so I'm gonna say 4 was my favorite. 27, what element would I control in the Avatar universe? Oh, I'd definitely be an airbender.
Wow, you're a natural. You really think so? Thanks.
28, if I were a famous singer, what kind of music would I do? Musicals. When I was younger, I used to think maybe I'd go into musical theater as a career, but I opted to just make karaoke videos in my bedroom now and then.
It's so pure, so strong. Though I didn't win, it came on fast. Still, I do believe that it can last, and I will be.
29, what's my favorite fruit? Dried apricots. Question 30, what's my opinion on Flibanserin and how it will affect the ace community? For those who don't know, Flibanserin is a drug that's supposed to help women with low sex drive, and it's being misleadingly discussed sometimes as a female Viagra. It recently got FDA approval, even though it has a high possibility of severe side effects. And although it's supposed to be marketed to women who want more sex, there's this huge amount of pushback from communities like ours, fearing that this sort of nod from the FDA is going to encourage both professionals who prescribe it and people in general to perceive low sex drive as more likely to be pathological. Shut up! When I first heard about this, I actually didn't think it was going to be that big of a problem, because I was like, okay, well, Viagra's been marketed to men for many years, and if the ladies want something now, okay, great, good for them. But then I did more reading about it, and I realized, yeah, it's not a sexual performance drug. It's pretty risky, actually. It's something that you have to take every day too. It's like a chronically taken thing, not just as needed, and it's kind of a step backwards for us if there's going to be all this noise about women not wanting enough sex. It's no secret that asexual people who either don't know they're asexual or they're in less than ideal relationships, or both, can kind of start thinking that they want sex because it makes things easier, maybe, even if they don't intrinsically want that. And then there's this, cultural push like this behind Flibanserin, can make us and maybe our professionals, our medical professionals, more likely to think we should be medicated even if we are asexual. So, if there's more news out there about how women should be wanting sex more, and there's a pill to help us do that, then more people are going to tell us, why don't you get that pill, and expect us to take the pill. And, there's a time and a place for this sort of thing, but not at the expense of pathologizing asexuality. 31, do I draw fan art, and have I done any for Steven Universe? I actually haven't done any SU art. I'm not sure why. I think maybe it's just I've seen so much good art in the fandom that I'm embarrassed to try. I've contributed some other art-like objects to the fandom, my music videos about the characters from the show, or when I covered the song Do It For Her in a duet with myself, or the time I made Steven Universe themed food every day for a week, including actual cookie cats. I have indeed done fan art for some other stuff before though. I used to draw Animaniacs fan art all the time, and I have drawn some silly pictures of Hiruma from iShield, and I really liked drawing Tenchimuyo characters in college. And every once in a while I'll draw a friend's original character for them or something. 32, which of my videos is my favorite? That would have to be Shit People Say to Asexuals, because I had such a blast putting it together with the contributors and seeing the results. 33. What are my future plans? Become a best-selling author? I don't know. I'm pretty much living the dream. I'm happy with how things are right now, so I guess I'll just keep writing and see how much better things get from here. 34. Do I wear asexual gear outside? I don't really own too much ace gear, but I've certainly worn the shirts I have outside. I have a shirt that says, "Man delights not me" on the front, and then on the back it says, "No, nor woman neither," and it's a quote from Hamlet. And I have a shirt that says, "When you say I'm confused about my sexuality, you really mean you're confused about my sexuality." Besides that, I have a jumbo aromantic ace button on my backpack that I take with me most everywhere. And I have this cool hair bow. I wore it at a conference once. 35. 3 people want to know, who is my favorite Steven Universe character? God, how could I ever pick? I mean, they're all so... Okay, no, who am I kidding? Easiest question ever. It's Garnet.
This is Garnet.
Here comes Garnet.
Who's Garnet?
Howdy. Bang.
Garnet's the boss.
Garnet! Garnet! Garnet!
Garnet!
I win.
Oh, wait, one of them asked me why. That is not so easy. I need a whole video for this. Hang on, this is gonna take a while. But I promise you'll learn stuff about me too, not just tolerate rambling about cartoon characters. First of all, I do love all the main characters in this show. Steven's adorable, and he's such a great realistic kid, and Pearl is an awesome space and tech nerd who's both a great protective mother figure and a tragically wonderful representation of surprisingly realistic mental illness and PTSD and grieving over the loss of someone she loved more than anything. And Amethyst is a lovable, wisecracking mess who is basically an advertisement for the asexual flag. But Garnet is... I mean, have you seen her?
This is a weird party.
Like, obviously she's a badass, and I love how she can be stoic without being cold, and it's so cool how she emotes so rarely that when she does do it, everyone knows something special must be happening.
Pearl, look at Garnet.
And it's unusual for a show to give characters who look like her any other role besides loud, sassy black woman, so as the quiet, thoughtful one, she's a much-needed non-stereotypical character for a demographic that doesn't get much diversity in mainstream programming, and it's nice for once to see a character who doesn't have to be either strong or smart. She's both.
Your brains and brawn, the whole package.
Thank you.
But beyond all that, I really, really relate to her. Like, a lot. I know what you're thinking. SwankiVY, you are not a 7-foot-tall queer space rock with a sweet afro, and no, indeed, I am not. But I've been in her shoes, or whatever the hell those are. I understand her as a character because we both kind of handle leadership the same way. Garnet is basically the member of the team who has it together, and she uses her stability to guide and support those who don't have her foundation. Pretty much all of the problems she has are really others' problems, and the most emotional she gets is when she has to watch others suffering. She sometimes throws herself into the line of fire to protect others because she knows she can take it, and that's exactly the sort of thinking that motivated me to get involved with ACE awareness. I was in a position to deal with attention and hate on behalf of people who weren't as privileged as me, so that's part of why I really relate to this character.
Stay behind me!
Garnet's the one others look to for cues on how to behave, and sometimes the other characters act like her approval is essential to their well-being,
Don't cry, Pearl.
while incurring her wrath or experiencing her disapproval can be devastating.
Garnet?
Pearl?
Oh!
Sometimes others even idolize her,
You're perfect.
You're wrong.
which is interesting because even though she has talents others don't have,
Only I can swim in lava.
she does have weak spots, and she freely admits when she's wrong about something.
I should have listened to you.
I sometimes find it really weird that people in my life see me that way, but I try to be really responsible with what I say and what I give so I can be a good leader. Garnet knows all about that.
I'm not as strong as you think. It's not easy being in control. I have weaknesses too, but I choose not to let them consume me. I struggle to stay strong because I know the impact I have on everyone.
She's also really similar to me when it comes to values. She's really independent, but kind of tolerates it when others are being clingy because they need her, or when they need her to speak for them.
Who wants to tell him?
Hey, I'm not good with this stuff.
Steven, I know you don't think we trust you.
But one thing she won't tolerate from others in her life is dishonesty. That is a great way to get on both of our bad sides.
Don't tell her.
I need to come clean.
Garnet!
I can tell you right now that I'm all about second chances, and I'll try to see the good in just about anyone, but I do not put up with having my trust abused. If you take me for granted, misrepresent yourself to me, lie to me, or deceive me in any way, you are gonna get dropped.
You lied to me. You need to learn that there are consequences to your actions.
I relate to all of this so hard, and as if that wasn't enough, she reacts pretty much exactly like I do to unwanted romantic attention.
Go for it, Garnet.
Start with the letter N.
Okay, what next?
The letter O. I am not, nor will I ever be interested. Go away.
Don't let her fool you, though. This gem is Earth's oldest love expert. She is quite happy with her relationship situation, and she won't hesitate to drop advice for getting on her level.
Get open. Get honest. Invent yourselves together.
You like her!
Let's set up a play date. I'll write up an invitation and work out a schedule. Oh, we'll have to find out her favorite kind of tea.
No, just talk to her. Love at first sight doesn't exist. Love takes time, and love takes work.
But I'd better stop there because we really can't go on like this forever.
Well, we can, but I don't want to.
Anyway, I think that thoroughly answers your question.
That's why I'm so great.
36. What is my favorite ice cream flavor? You'll probably laugh, but I really love vanilla. Also cookies and cream. That picture is Tofutti vanilla ice cream on cookies at Disney World with Benjamin. I will also accept mint chocolate chip, anything lemony, and coffee flavor. 37. What's the most interesting thing and the most important thing I've learned about myself from other people pointing it out to me? Well, let's see. For an interesting thing, that would be that my voice is apparently recognizable and unique. I've had people here and there tell me I should do voiceover work, or they really like listening to my videos because they like hearing me talk or whatever, but this one time a girl came up to me while I was at my drink and draw club in our crowded ass coffee shop, and she asked if I'm the asexual girl who makes YouTube videos. Then she said she had been able to hear my voice from across the room, even though it was really crowded and loud in there, and she had to come over and see if it was me. And turned out she was a fan of my videos, and she was a local asexual person, and we got to have a hug. Yay! As for the most important thing I've learned from somebody else pointing it out, it's probably that I have had several people ask me to talk to someone else for them because they think that I can phrase it tactfully, and that I can be an intermediary for conveying their messages. And like, I knew I was a word person, but like, it seems like a lot of people see me like that, and I didn't fully grasp that that was one of my abilities until people started leaning on me to use it. 38. How did I get so dang adorable? Good genes. 39. What are my favorite foods and drinks? Haha. My favorite vegetables are corn, artichokes, broccoli, cauliflower, mushrooms, and edamame beans. My favorite fruits are apricots, apples, bananas, grapefruits, and strawberries. My favorite breakfasts are Cheerios with almond milk, eggs, and waffles. My favorite lunches are grilled cheese sandwiches, soup, macaroni and cheese, and tofurkey sandwiches. My favorite dinners are veggie burgers, anything with potatoes, veggie sushi, noodles, pizza, rice, and tofu. My favorite sides and snacks are homemade bread, cheese, muffins, homemade pretzels, hummus and crackers, biscuits, and granola bars. My favorite desserts are cupcakes, licorice, homemade cookies, popsicles, jelly beans, cake, pie, and nerds. 40. I've only ever seen one episode of Steven Universe, but I'm aware fans are making their own gemsonas. Do you have a gemsona? You have only seen one episode of Steven Universe, and all I want to know is what the heck is wrong with you. Anyway, no, I don't do that stuff. My derivative works might involve covering a song, or reproducing a drawing, or making a music video, or something like that, but I don't tend to create my own additions to fictional universes, so I don't write fanfiction or make my own characters. 41. What makes me keep writing? Well, I keep having ideas and things to say, so I say them. I get all kinds of ideas all the time, like ideas for blogs, stories, novels, and I figure if I don't go ahead and make them, then eventually I'll forget or lose my motivation, so I write a lot. 42, what's my favorite kind of movies? I mostly like science fiction and fantasy movies and comedies and sometimes drama. 43, what Hogwarts house would I be in? Oh, Ravenclaw all the way, baby. 44, what's the highlight of my life so far? Well, getting signed to agents and getting a book deal was pretty up there, but that's too obvious. Okay, so this sounds kind of silly, but one of my best memories ever was when I was in high school. I got sick shortly before having to go to a district-wide choral festival where I had a solo, and so like all week, like 3 days I didn't talk at all. I was trying to save my voice, and I somehow managed to sing really well in the contest, and then that night I went to a friend's birthday party, and it was really awesome because I could scream all night, and I was jumping on the trampoline and screaming with my friends, and it just didn't matter anymore. I could finally talk again, and it didn't have the potential to affect how I would perform. It was like a really good, awesome relief, and so the next day I was waking up really late on a weekend morning, and the phone was ringing, and I heard my mom answer it, and it was my chorus teacher saying that I had gotten the top scores at the festival. So like my mom peeks in to tell me the news that I had made really good scores, and I got to just go back to sleep, and it was really awesome. Some of my vacations with my friends have been pretty good highlights material too, though. 45. Any ace arrow headcanons? Okay, for my non-fandom audience, canon is basically something that is official, and in fiction it's something that is established in the work itself. Headcanon means it's something fans imagine based on the source material, but it's not established in canon. It's just something they think is true or like to imagine is true. So this person's asking me if I headcanon anyone is asexual or aromantic. Not really. That's kind of an anticlimactic answer, but I'm just not much of a speculation person. I'll analyze what's there, but I tend not to make up my own information about what I think about someone else's fictional creation. If someone's asexual or aromantic and the story doesn't say so, I guess I'm just trained to assume that I don't know that character's sexual orientation like with anyone else. Keep in mind, though, that I also don't headcanon people as straight if it hasn't been shown that they're straight, so I don't like to imagine people are ace or aromantic and then get disappointed if they aren't. 46, what's my favorite hobby? Writing! If that doesn't count because I've done it professionally, let's say singing. 47, what's my favorite musical and why? I'm gonna have to be cliche and say Les Miserables. Just because of all the great musicals I've seen, I think this one has made me feel the most emotions the strongest, and that might be partly because I was introduced to it as a young teenager when I was super into singing, and I thought I might be looking at a career on Broadway like my grandma. Everyone in it has such a huge amount of misery and sorrow and despair, but some of them still find hope and love, and they sing about it a lot. I hated the movie, though. Some of my other favorite musicals include Avenue Q, Chess, Into the Woods, Jekyll and Hyde, Man of La Mancha, Moulin Rouge, Newsies, Phantom of the Opera, Rent, Rocky Horror, Spamalot, and Wicked. Oh yeah, and I saw A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder when I was in New York. It was fantastic. 48, thoughts on Homestuck. You know what? I tried to get into it and figure it out, but I just didn't get it. It's too bad because I still see it freaking everywhere, and it makes me curious, but I couldn't even get far enough to meet all the troll characters, and I just couldn't follow it. Some of the music was neat, though. 49, don't you think same-sex marriage legitimizes the institution of marriage, which oppresses agamic and asexual people both in the socio-cultural and economic aspects? Don't you think starting a sentence with "don't you think" implies that you expect me to answer a certain way? Yeah, seriously, don't ask leading questions like that. Answer is, you can certainly argue that certain groups, including some asexual people, don't have lifestyles that would ever lead to marriage, and that our society currently rewards the institution of the couple to such an extent that, you know, it can be disadvantageous to stay single like me. But criticism of marriage itself can be a legit topic without popping into discussions of same-sex marriage and like telling us we should really be focusing on doing away with marriage altogether. There are tons of problems with the way marriage works in the society, yes, but no, I don't believe letting people marry the same sex is increasing that problem. And marriage certainly isn't going to be decoupled from its economic benefits faster if we refuse to let same-sex couples have it. If a right and benefits currently exist for some couples but not others, we can certainly remove the second-class citizen garbage to help them now, and then continue to have the conversation about how marriage currently fails people regardless of whether they have access to it. 50. If I won a lottery ticket for a 6-month overseas vacation, where would I go? I do not want to go anywhere away from home for a month, let alone 6 months. I'd rather go alone, but if I had to bring someone, I guess I'd probably go with Joe, because we've never taken a real trip together, and he's a hermit, so he'd probably be willing to leave me alone a lot. I'd probably go to the British Isles or Australia and visit friends I know there, but maybe I'd go to concerts or go shopping, see the sights, but mostly I'd probably stay wherever I was staying because I'm boring and, relax and probably write, but hopefully I would be near a beach. Which is weird because I'm not really a beach person, but I like being near them when I'm on a holiday. I don't know. 51. What gemstone would you have in the Steven Universe? My favorite stone has always been rose quartz, but that seems to be taken, so let's go with topaz. I like how it looks and what it means. By the way, guess what my birthstone is? 52. Most amusing thing that has happened to me. Most of those things just don't work very well in the retelling. Some of my friend Joe's jokes just practically make me pee myself laughing. And I laughed forever watching my mom fall off the bed laughing at a dirty joke I played for her when I was in college. And I've been inexplicably amused at some of the dumbest movies. I guess there's one story that I wasn't even there for that I could tell you. So I have a younger sister. She went through school 1 year behind me in school, so everybody was always asking, are you Julie's sister? Are you Julie's sister? So when we got older and we went to different colleges, she did one of her semesters overseas at Waseda University, and that's in Japan. And the first day of class, they had a group of people. They were all introducing themselves. And when she said her last name, somebody else in the same circle said to her, "Are you Julie's sister in freaking Japan?" And it turned out that that was the brother of one of my friends. So it wasn't that weird, but it was certainly a coincidence. She didn't expect to hear, "Are you Julie's sister?" when she was all the way in Japan. She thought she escaped me, but you cannot escape me. No, maybe now she stands a better chance of escaping me now that she's gotten married and changed her name. 53. Do I speak any other languages? Not fluently, no. I learned some Spanish in high school, and I understand some Japanese. I had to take singing diction classes when I was in college, so I'm sort of familiar with the pronunciation for Italian, German, and French. 54. Have I heard of Welcome to Night Vale? Oh! Okay, so not only have I heard of it, but I listened to every episode. My laptop background is the logo. I have a bunch of scouting badges on my purse, and I have been to see the live shows. Yes, I like Welcome to Night Vale. 55. What other shows besides Steven Universe do I enjoy watching? There are other shows? No. Okay, so I'll be here all day if I list every show I like. So let's say live action shows, Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, The Guild, Upright Citizens Brigade, Tenacious D's old show, Huge, Red Dwarf, Monty Python's Flying Circus, and I do like House MD, even though they did a terrible job with their one episode concerning asexuality. For animated shows, I've already gone through the anime in response to an earlier question, but cartoons, I like Adventure Time, both Avatar series, Aang's and Korra's, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, The Boondocks, Gravity Falls, Invader Zim, Samurai Jack, The Tick, and I was a super gross Animaniacs fangirl for many years. Actually, I guess I kind of still am. 56. Do I ever feel like I need a companion? Not really. I don't seem to have, gee, I wish someone was here with me type feelings, but there are certainly times when I wish that I could talk to or hang out with a particular friend or family member. I don't have like phantom wishings for a partner who doesn't exist, if that's what you mean. 57. What pets do I have and what are my favorite animals? I don't have pets and I don't like animals. I care a lot about their welfare and I give to, animal charities, and I'm a vegetarian for anti-cruelty reasons, but I don't actually like being around them or taking care of them. In a theoretical sense, I think birds are pretty cool. 58. Who's my favorite Legend of Korra character and why? That would probably be Janora. Not sure exactly why, but maybe it's something about how she's an eldest child just like me, and she's a bookworm like I was when I was that age, and I kind of relate to her quest for early mastery and her ability to define her own path while still following some established wisdom. 59. What are the best questions, observations, and amusing things people have presented to me? Mostly I just like when people ask me in-depth questions about my stories that showed that they paid attention and they had some kind of response to what I wrote. As for observations, a while back my friend Eric said that he was really respecting how I set goals and follow through with them. Like, he noticed that I really had my shit together, and it's inspiring to watch me reaching for the goals I set and actually succeeding at them. I do really like to think that I've found a good balance between being happy with what I have and still trying to reach for more. And as for amusing perspectives, I always thought it was funny that people always think that I'm way younger than I am. It's not so funny when it leads to stuff like being refused entry to a karaoke bar because they think I'm not 21 yet, even though I'm approaching 40, but there you go. 60. My political opinions. Well, I am registered to vote as independent. Of course, my social views lean liberal and somewhat socialist. I support freedom of choice for abortion and marriage. I'm anti-war. And I support socialized healthcare and education and assistance for those in poverty. I think we need far more attention to race issues and disability rights when it comes to how laws apply to different people differently in practice, even though they're not on the books as different. Freedom of religion is important to me, but nobody's religious beliefs should be interfering with or legally influencing what becomes law. I think immigration and citizenship shouldn't depend on assimilation. I think we should decriminalize drug use and sex work. And I don't think all guns should be illegal, but I think we need better regulation somehow. I'm not what you'd call a politically aware person, but those are probably my basics. 61. What do you think about the other shows currently airing on Cartoon Network? There are other shows? No, really, I don't watch a lot of TV since I don't actually have cable or a subscription service, so I usually only find new shows if someone recommends them or I make a specific effort to watch something. I watch Steven Universe at my friend Joe's house when it comes on. As mentioned, I like Adventure Time, and I actually think We Bare Bears is really cute. Are they still doing Robot Chicken? I love Robot Chicken. I've been told I would like Clarence and The Amazing World of Gumball and Regular Show and maybe Rick and Morty. Though I checked out a couple of episodes of that last time. I'm not really sure how I feel about it yet, so I don't know. 62. What is the most outrageous thing I've ever done? I'm not huge into outrage here, folks, but I used to be really into getting into high places and hanging out to do my homework or bother people walking by on the ground or whatever. I'd bring my friends up onto roofs and have picnics. Once I climbed up on top of the library and practiced my trumpet up there. Another kind of ridiculous thing my friends and I did was we baked this cake for our favorite band and brought it with us to another city to see them in concert, and two of us actually walked up on the stage to give it to them, and it actually worked. We snuck up there the one time the security guy wasn't blocking the stairs. It was pretty cool and they liked our cake. 63. What 3 people would I go on a road trip with? Oh man.
Road trip!
Road trip!
Road trip.
I'm assuming I can't perform this road trip stunt with fictional people. I wouldn't actually be interested in taking a road trip with celebrities or people I don't know, so what I think would be really cool is taking a trip with my friends Megan, Jessie, and Kara. We've all spent some time together, and as far as I know, we can all stand each other, and we like enough of the same things that we'd all be able to find fun stuff to do. 64, my thoughts on religion and politics and how much I share that stuff. Well, I talked a little about politics in response to an earlier question. Religion, I think, is kind of like anything else. It can be beneficial for helping some people, and I think it can also spread lies and encourage oppression, especially if it's built into the government, while the people who built it into the government insist it isn't influencing how our government operates. I think there's so much about mainstream religion that's responsible for war and guilt and personal hang-ups and instilling good behavior through fear. But to be honest, I think the parts of it that inspire charity and tolerance can be achieved without it. That's all critical of institutionalized religion, though. It's in practice, not so much in theory and personal practice. I'm 100% about freedom, as long as that practice doesn't limit other people's freedom. And I think it's possible to have faith-based or magical beliefs without also denying reality and inhibiting curiosity and scientific investigation. People should be free to cultivate a relationship with their deities if that's how they believe, and they should be allowed to create communities about shared faith and same traditions. As for me, I consider myself to be an atheistic, eclectic pagan. My beliefs on sharing my political and religious thoughts and how others should share theirs is that it should always be civil and solicited for the most part, and nobody should have these conversations without a listening part. I don't think it would make much sense for me to go into a detailed discussion of how to have appropriate sensitive content conversations in a variety of imaginable scenarios. I'm happy to blog about my thoughts and share them on social media, and I think people doing the same works fine, since I can choose whether to engage their perspective. 65, would I shave my head for $1,000, and do I think I'd look good bald? No and no. I like my hair, and $1,000 isn't enough to remove it. 66, how do I make myself write consistently? I don't. I write when I feel like it, and I don't write when I don't feel like it. Some people do say you need to write every day to be a real writer, or you at least have to do it consistently and keep to it like a job if you ever want to be successful at it. And I understand where that comes from, and I'm not one of those people who just sits around waiting for the perfect time or inspiration or whatever. I understand that sometimes you just have to buckle down and do it, but I also don't believe that you necessarily have to have a writing schedule to get it out. I don't have to wait for everything to be ideal, but doing it when I want to do it seems to be enough. 67, what music and podcasts do I listen to? Well, as mentioned, I like Welcome to Night Vale for podcasts. I don't really listen to other podcasts except individual episodes of things people forward to me and stuff. Music, well, I've got a pretty ridiculously long list, so it would be impossible for me to be comprehensive with this, but I can just give you some highlights. Some of my favorite bands and musicians include Tori Amos, Dar Williams, Queen, They Might Be Giants, Indigo Girls, The Bird and the Bee, Vienna Teng, Ani DeFranco, Imogen Heap, Enya, Lorena McKennitt, Tracy Chapman, Alanis Morissette, Kate Bush, Queen, Freeze Pop, Happy Rhodes, Suzanne Vega, India Arie, Simon and Garfunkel, Björk, and Weird Al. 68, how do my parents feel about my asexuality? 100% supportive as far as I know. Mom even got me a sweet asexuality themed cake when my book came out, and Dad flew me to New York and went to all my award ceremonies with me. They don't rag me about it or bug me for grandchildren or tell me I'll never be happy. I'm lucky I have parents who validated my identity and gave me freedom to explore on my own terms. Oh man, it's raining. I'm sorry. 69, what do I think about social networks? That's kind of a vague question. What's my opinion of them? They're a great place to connect to others and also find out who's racist. That's what I think. I use a lot of social networks. They're all good for different things and have different obnoxious aspects. Like just about anything else in human history, abusing them is really easy, but I think they put us in touch with a global understanding of humanity in a more authentic sense than we used to have in previous generations. And I'm not just talking about geographically. I see a lot of people exploring identity and sharing resources and posting news on social networks, followed by backlash from people who don't want to listen. For the first time, certain demographics are sharing space with demographics they would not have encountered or sought out before. It's eye-opening for most people and helps educate them on how to interact with a truly diverse world. But right now, some people are still in this pushback phase where they slam these networks for enabling trendy identities and call-out culture. They think these conversations only just developed at the time when they first started using the tools that enabled them to hear them. Hopefully we'll move past that soon, but given humanity's history, I am not incredibly optimistic about it going smoothly. 70. If you could reproduce asexually, would you? No.
No.
71. What was my first writing achievement that felt like a big accomplishment? Probably getting my first offer of representation and signing with my literary agent. 72. Do I have siblings? Yeah, I do. I have 2 younger sisters. Sister P is a year younger and Sister L is 5 years younger. The youngest is the tall one. 73. Are you still planning on starting that YA book this year? I would love to say I still plan to bring Megan into the world this year, but I don't know when exactly. I've been doing a lot of thinking about a particular aspect of the book and recently figured out how I'm going to handle it. So it probably won't be too much longer now. For those who don't know, I plan to write a young adult book with a lesbian asexual protagonist, and it's about her trying to figure out her romantic life and also try to get into art school. So this will be the first time I've tried to write a protagonist who identifies as asexual, so it ought to be fun. 74. What are your other interests outside of writing? We barely know who you are. No offense to this commenter named Buddy Jesus Smokes, but I am not a private person, so if you feel like you barely know me, I promise it's not because I haven't been sharing. Here on YouTube, I've got videos featuring my singing, my gaming, and my webcomic, plus a tour of my apartment that shows off some other interests, but I can tell you more if you want. So you know I like writing. I also do a lot of blogging, and that probably counts under writing too. I also sometimes enjoy editing other people's books for them, and I used to take clients freelance, but I don't really do it anymore. I'm a prolific journaler who keeps daily records, and I love reading and writing reviews for the books I read. I usually read about a book a week, and at the time of making this video I have around 1,000 reviews posted. I like reading comics too. I of course like drawing. I go to an art club once a month, and I draw 2 webcomics. So I do like singing. Sometimes I make recordings, or I'll just go out and do karaoke with friends, and I tinker around on instruments from time to time. Sometimes I'll go out to dinner with a group of friends, or just hang out and play games with pals at home. I really like playing Dance Dance Revolution, and I like tennis, and riding my bike. And I really love baking, mostly cookies, cakes, and breads. And I like organizing stuff. And on the rare occasion I get a moment to breathe, naps are nice. 75. Am I watching any anime that's out this summer? I'm afraid I'm not. I'm following a couple current tunes that are not anime.
It's a little obvious.
But mostly with anime, I just binge watch stuff as my friends turn me onto it, and most of it's pretty old. 76. Have I ever met anyone in public who was wearing the ace ring? I haven't seen it and known it to be the ace ring except at the occasional event or ace meetup. I don't really look for it, to be honest. 77. What is your opinion on the voluntary human extinction movement? Well, I don't blame people for thinking humanity is a virus that should just go away and stop killing the planet, but I also think humans are pretty nifty, sometimes, and I'd hate to see them wiped out completely. We secret aliens living among you totally find you amusing. No, seriously, Earth is not a trash can, and I'd support more responsible managing of resources and a lowering of the reproduction rate. 78. Where have I traveled and where would I like to? Well, I talked about other countries before. I've been to Japan once and Canada twice. But inside the US, I've been to all the pink states shown here. all for either family vacations, visiting friends, or doing an event. I don't actually like to travel, and when I do, it's to see people and not places, but maybe one day I'll get to Australia or the UK. 79. What kind of stuff do I write? Most of the stuff I write is fantasy, science fiction, and speculative fiction. My story webcomic is fantasy. The book series that I have on submission to publishers as of this video recording is a fairy tale retelling. And sometimes I do like magical realism, and sometimes I write science fiction. I've written a bunch of short stories, and a lot of them were written for fun. Maybe about half of those are spec fic. Once in a while I actually succeed at selling one to a magazine, and I write nonfiction articles too. I've sold a bunch of those. Other than that, I just write rants and blogs. Whee! 80. What is my favorite episode of Steven Universe?
That's actually a very important question.
I have a really hard time picking because there's just so many good ones, but it is really, really hard to beat Jailbreak. Mostly because Garnet sings.
'Cause I am a feeling, and I will never end, and I won't let you hurt my planet, and I won't let you hurt my friends.
But it's kind of such an obvious thing to pick the season finale episode, right? Some of my other favorites include Sworn to the Sword, because it shows how Pearl's trauma and grief can lead her to spreading unhealthy messages to people who trust her, and On the Run, because it expertly shows how Amethyst is both proud of and ashamed of her origin, and Keeping It Together, because for the first time in 60 episodes you see the classically stoic character Garnet genuinely losing her shit because she cares so much about someone else's tragedy, and Cry for Help, because it's about trust and betrayal, also known as Don't Piss Off Garnet. So basically, I just enjoy being emotionally devastated.
That show's really weird. Who wants to watch a cartoon about people crying?
I do.
I'm also a big fan of Story for Steven and We Need to Talk, because flashbacks are so much fun in this show. And of course I love Coach Steven, where we meet Sugilite and watch Pearl get jealous enough to sing a song. Alone Together, because you know why. And Giant Woman, because Amethyst and Pearl are hilarious together. Yeah, actually just give me anything where I can watch queer space rocks dance and I'll be good. Everyone who watches this show loves the fusion episodes, so I guess that was pretty predictable. One of the ones I love that not everyone seems to care for, though, my sleeper favorite might be Secret Team. People think it's filler, but it's just so not.
So you two can't get along unless you think I'm going to kill you.
Nobody should have ever asked me that question.
This show is so good!
81. What's my favorite way to explain asexuality to non-asexual people? Well, it depends on if they seem to be really confused about it in any particular way. Usually if they act like they can't wrap their minds around it, I ask them, is there any type of person you're not sexually attracted to? And assuming that they say yes, I say, well, just imagine that you feel that way about everyone you meet. That's asexuality. And sometimes if I don't want to give it a label because people might ask me uncomfortable or inappropriate questions in a certain context, I'll just say, I've never been attracted to anyone that way, and I'm fine with that for now. 82. What superpower would I have? I'd probably just be predictable and give myself the same telekinetic powers that my webcomic character has, so I could fly and be a badass. Mostly because it would make for easy transportation, which I don't have right now, and it would be fun, and it would allow me to protect people that I care about. 83. How to fix writer's block. Yikes. Well, I don't really deal with writer's block myself. There are a few techniques I recommend though. You can work on characters with like attribute sheets, or if you like to draw the characters. You can work on plotting or outlines instead of the actual writing. You can write something unrelated to your main project. You can do a side project. You can motivate yourself with rewards at like certain milestones, like how many words are finishing a chapter. You can try writing sprints with friends if you're into like the social, kind of almost competitive way of motivating yourself. Similarly, you can post status updates on Twitter or your blog, and you'll look forward to getting to post that. So you could just take a break and read something that inspires you, one of the things that made you want to be a writer in the first place, or you can reread something that you're writing, a work in progress, or some old stuff to kind of re-motivate you. You can try a different kind of writing from the kind that you're blocked on, like write poetry or write nonfiction, switch between short fiction and long fiction, whatever. And you can try sending your chapters to somebody as you're going so that you feel like they're waiting for you to finish, and that might motivate you. Those are some suggestions. 84. What is your favorite TV shows, movies, books to read, games to play, sports, hobbies, and any other entertainment? Well, it looks like I've literally done all of those except movies, so let's show you a few of my favorite movies. I like some musical movies like Chicago, Into the Woods, Rent, and Moulin Rouge, and all of the Lord of the Rings movies. I like The Lost Skeleton of Cadavra, pretty much all of the Monty Python movies, Stranger Than Fiction, Adaptation, Being John Malkovich, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Clerks, and some of the other Kevin Smith movies, some of the Pixar movies, The Fantastic Mr. Fox, Rise of the Guardians, Amélie, Labyrinth, Mr. Holland's Opus, and The Forbidden Zone. And since you asked about some other forms of entertainment, I don't really play any games besides Dance Dance Revolution, but I do like some comics. I read some manga, and I like the Sandman series from Neil Gaiman. I do like some of Jonan Vasquez's stuff. It depends. And I've definitely collected my share of silly cartoon comics. I had some of the Tick somewhere, Animaniacs, even some old Ren and Stimpy stuff. Storm is my favorite of the X-Men, and so for some reason I just like her and I collected her comics. And of course I collect these. I think I might have a problem. 85. How did I find the best writing technique for me? I don't actually know what this question is asking exactly. I've never taken any kind of classes or like looked for a specific technique, I guess. My answer would be, I guess, experimentation. I've experimented with different kinds of writing and emulating what I've read. Being concise has always been an issue for me, so that is something that I've worked on, maybe trying to train myself to say things in fewer words and not repeat myself as much when I'm writing, but I don't really know what else to say except that I've read a lot. 86. Do I have a favorite YouTuber and who do I follow? Not really, honestly. I don't watch a lot of YouTube, which sounds weird. If you want to follow people similar to me, I really like the asexuality videos made by Vesper on channel Queer as Cat and Amelia on channel Amelia Ace. Other than that, I mostly just watch ridiculous and funny things on channels like Brad Neely, Epic Rap Battles of History, Mr. Deity, Scotty Got an Office Job, The Lonely Island, and Garfunkel and Oates. And I really like Cheska Lee's videos. Watch Francesca. 87. Do I like young adult books and what's my favorite? I definitely love and read a lot of YA. If I had to pick just one favorite, I guess I'd probably go with Shannon Hale's Books of Bayern series, which starts with The Goose Girl. 88. What's the most fun I've had putting a troll in their place? I don't like arguing. I do not have a good time arguing with these people. It is not fun to me, but to be perfectly honest, one time that stands out to me was a time someone disagreed with something that I said, and it escalated to them saying, "What have you ever done to help the asexual community?" Pretty sure they didn't know who they were talking to, guys. So they wanted me to tell them what I've done for the asexual community, and I told them. Okay guys, I have finally come to the end of the questions I'm going to answer for this video. I hope you really enjoyed getting to know me a little bit better, and at least that I didn't bore you. If you want me to elaborate on anything that I said, or you had additional questions about something, you can always fill up my comments like you always do. And who knows, maybe next time that I have occasion to have a milestone video, I'll take questions again and answer the ones that aren't repeats of this video. So thank you so much for watching and for subscribing to me. It's been wonderful to be talking to all you guys and interacting with you all these years. So thanks again. Thanks so much for 5,000, and I hope to talk to you guys in the comments. Bye.